Here on the show floor at the National Restaurant Association show. We are live in the Forno Bravo booth number 264. If you guys are making your way over, all you guys come around. This is the last place on this side of the show floor on Sunday afternoon that's still making hot food. So come on over, we're gonna be making some pizzas. I got a lot of awesome things we're gonna cover. So let's get into this because we're gonna have a lot of time. So what I'm gonna talk about today, we're gonna talk about wood-fired cooking. And the reason we're talking about wood-fired cooking is because I got this awesome oven right behind me. This oven is made 100% in the United States by a company called Forno Bravo. Forno Bravo is all made in California. Every single piece of this oven is made in America, including the stand. The company that owns Forno Bravo also owns a metal company. All a family business. They've been around forever, okay? The first thing that I'm gonna do today, I wanna talk real quick about sauce because I need some pizza sauce to keep my demo going. So what I'm gonna be talking about is tomatoes real quick, all right? We're using these beautiful whole peel tomatoes. These are from an Italian company called Muti. These particular tomatoes in this can are whole peel tomatoes that come from the region of Campania. Campania is that area where Naples is at, all right? Naples area makes the San Marzano tomato. And the San Marzano tomato is very special because it's got a very specific taste and a very specific texture. Because of the size of the tomato, it's got this kind of like long, elongated shape. It doesn't have a lot of seeds. It doesn't usually have a lot of skins or a lot of excess water or juice inside of it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you my method for creating the perfect pizza sauce. Now, these tomatoes are approved by the VPN, which is the Association of the Verace Pizza Napolitana, meaning that if you had a Neapolitan pizzeria and you needed to get tomatoes, you could use these tomatoes. They're certified by the governing agency that controls all the Neapolitan pizzas throughout the world, okay? So we've got a certified VPN approved tomato. But Muti is known as the tomato of Parma, not from Campania, right? So what they do is these specific tomatoes actually come from Campania. The rest of the tomatoes that they produce are from northern Italy. Those are from an area in Parma that traditionally Parma tomatoes are a little bit different, okay? They're the Roma variety of tomatoes. I'm gonna actually start working these. What I'm gonna do is, these whole peel tomatoes are really beautiful because you can see they're not all bits and pieces, they're actually whole in the can. And the other thing is, the puree is actually the same color as the tomato, which is a big thing, right? Most of the premium tomato companies that are out there will have that really rich, beautiful puree. But the difference is the viscosity, fancy word, right? What we're doing, the viscosity, the actual texture of the tomato is how much water is in these tomatoes, all right? The worst thing that you can do to a pizza that you're gonna make in a wood-fired oven, especially if you're making a Neapolitan pizza, that pizza is gonna bake, let's say at 900 degrees plus, okay, is put a lot of water on top of that pizza. So we go through a lot of work to make sure that the texture of those tomatoes is just right to make a really good sauce. Now, all I'm doing is I'm kind of going in, I'm putting these underneath so that my beautiful white chef coat isn't all red, all right? But if I take my hand, put it underneath the sauce, and give it a smash, what I'm left with is this beautiful pulp, all right? The reason why we use this method is because in the intense temperature of that oven, if I had a sauce that was, let's say, too thick, all right, or that was too thin, it didn't have any of that pulp in there, what happens is you have a tendency sometimes to get a little pasty, all right, a little thick. But by having that little bit of juice from inside of the pulp, we've got something that as that tomato pulp cooks, it releases a little bit of that beautiful tomato juice. Now, when you use some mozzarella, let's say like the fior di latte, which is whole milk mozzarella, I actually just got done doing demonstration. We made some fresh just now. And when we use that mozzarella, you've got that creamy bit of cow's milk, all right? You've got that little bit of tang, that acidity from the tomato. All of a sudden, you got something beautiful and well balanced. But what did I just say? Now, we've got fresh mozzarella that also has water on it. This is where the key of the ingredients comes in. We want to control the amount of water that's in the tomato. When we have fresh mozzarella, that fresh cheese, all right, inside of that cheese is a lot of water. So what do we do as professionals? A lot of times, guys will take that whole ovalini ball, all right? Ovalini refers to the shape. It's kind of egg-sized. We like to use a brand called Grande, which is from Wisconsin. We're here in the Midwest. I'm born and raised in Chicago. Why not use something local, right? They just happen to be one of the greatest cheese producers in the United States. But the thing that makes them great is not because they're here in Wisconsin. It makes it great because they're Italian cheesemakers that came to the United States and figured out how to produce really awesome traditional Italian cheese with what was available here with these cows that are in Brownsville, Wisconsin, all right? Now, as I'm continuing, you see I've kind of got these tomatoes and I'm kind of working these around and I got this pulp. I'm gonna bounce around a little bit here, right? So I've got these tomatoes that are almost ready. Inside over here, now all I've got is tomatoes. We need to season these a little bit, but I'm not gonna go crazy with my seasoning. If we were gonna stick to the VPN guidelines, all right, this would very simply be seasoned. 1 can of tomatoes, this 128 ounce can, this number 10 can, would have 1 ounce of sea salt in it, okay? That's exactly what I'm gonna use. We would put that 1 ounce of sea salt. People freak out all the time saying you gotta put more stuff inside the sauce. You can't make pizza sauce with just tomatoes and salt. It's not true. The reason why we do that is because if I wanted things like oregano or black pepper or Parmesan cheese or all the other things that we do here in the States to our sauce, if I wanted those things on the pizza, I would put them directly on the pizza. Because if I didn't want oregano on top of the pizza that I'm making, by having it in the sauce, all of a sudden, I'm forced to have it on every single pizza. So now that my sauce here is very uniform and combined and it's doing what it's got to do, we've gone ahead and we've got 1 ounce of sea salt, 28 grams of sea salt in here. At this point, I'm going to stir this around. Anytime this sauce would sit for more than 10 seconds, remember this, you're putting raw salt into your tomato sauce. Anytime it sits for more than 10 seconds, we want to go and we want to give this a stir, okay? Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I made a sauce yesterday. I'm going to make more of a classic Italian sauce. Now, what the heck does that mean, classic Italian sauce? This is the type of sauce that you would traditionally see throughout Italy now, not just Naples. So as I go through here, my tomatoes are good, all right? I'm going to get rid of this glove. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to take some fresh basil, okay? I'm going to find a couple nice leaves of fresh basil. For this size can, maybe 2 big leaves, maybe 3 or 4 small ones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fresh basil and I'm going to crumble it in my hands. I'm purposely bruising the basil because I want to extract the essential oil from the basil. As soon as I open my hands, the first thing I smell is that beautiful perfume of the basil. It smells like my grandma's garden in the middle of August. We take these, we put this in here, I'm just hand tearing these. We're not doing that crazy French thing, that chiffonade, whatever. We want this to be nice and hand torn because if you get this on top of the pizza and you want to take it off, it's really easy to get this out of the sauce. The other thing that I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. I've got 1 clove of garlic that all we've done is taken the points off of it. I'm going to take this, I'm going to give it a smash, and I'm going to stick it inside the sauce. Again, we're going to allow the essential oils of the garlic to come out. So this sauce only has salt, the aroma of that basil, and then just a kiss of that garlic essence, okay? On top of any pizza, this would be a great sauce that we could put anything else on. If it's going to be, let's say we make a pepperoni pizza, okay? We could make a pepperoni pizza, why not? Even though we got Italian products and Italian dough, I would just tell you that find a really good pepperoni. In Italy, pepperoni is not what we know it here in the States. Pepperoni in Italy are peppers, okay? Like a red roasted pepper. Those are pepperoni. If you order them in a restaurant, that's what you're going to get, okay? If you go to Italy and you got something similar to our American pepperoni, you might see things like soppressata being used or some kind of spicy salami. This is the equivalent in Europe. So how are we going to make the two worlds go back and forth and collide and do everything great? We're going to try to find the happy medium, right? If I do my job right, that wasn't so bad, Alex. Even your white shirt is still white. I'm going to take this sauce. It's all nice and well mixed. I put it inside here, and I'm going to put this on the line. That's simple, folks. My sauce is ready to go. Now, we got sauce. I want to talk to you a little bit about this mozzarella that I'm going to use. A few minutes ago, maybe about an hour ago, I did a demonstration in another booth, Polyscience in Breville. We used a new technique. I came up with a technique that we can hand stretch mozzarella without changing all the water out, right? This is a pretty big thing because traditionally when we make mozzarella from scratch, we go through a lot of water changes to melt the curd a proper way. We keep it at a certain temperature. And the problem that we run into is that eventually we get that curd too hot and we end up taking all the butter fat out of the curd, and you get this mozzarella that's really dry. It's not very good. It's not very appetizing, right? So what we did was I made this mozzarella. If you can see right now, this is mozzarella that was stretched from curd. This mozzarella has been sitting inside of water. Actually, I'm showing you, it came out of water, hot water, it sat at room temperature and went into a container. Without any extra water at all, look at how much water is already inside of this cheese. This is really important because it's important to understand that fresh mozzarella does have a lot of water, okay? If we don't figure out how to get that water out of this cheese, we're going to run into some problems out of the oven. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make some slices on this mozzarella, okay? And if you look on the inside, if I press this, you can actually see the cream coming out of this mozzarella. It's fantastic. We love that. This is the advantage of hand pulling mozzarella. If you've never made fresh mozzarella pulled from curd, you gotta try it. It's one of those experiences that's very gratifying because the cheese is very different hand pulled than it is from, let's say, made commercially. Now, we use Grande's Ovolini all the time. Ovoline or Ovolini. Either one you can call them. They both mean egg, okay? I'm gonna cut these strips that are about 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. We call this cut julienne, okay? The reason why we love the julienne cut is because when we put this mozzarella on top of the pizza and we cook it inside of that oven, it melts really nice. You're going to have these strips of mozzarella that are melted, all right? But you're going to have a very nice uniform melted cheese. If we were to take this mozzarella and instead of doing that 1/4 inch slice, these again are fresh mozzarella. I just made these about an hour ago. Instead of 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch, let's say we did a 1/2 inch cut, a little bit wider, right? I'll take this 1/2 inch cut, I'm going to turn it sideways, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch this time, all right? This cut now is a little bit bigger, okay? These are called diti. Diti are your fingers, all right? It's about the size of your finger. If I turn these sideways and cut them once down the middle, I've created a size called cubetti, all right? Cubetti and julienne are probably the two most common shreds of mozzarella that we use on top of our pizzas if you were to go to southern Italy, okay? In our pizzas that we're gonna make today, I'm gonna stretch a couple of these and you're gonna be able to see these, okay? I'm gonna keep this out some more. Sorry guys. All right, let's stretch some dough. The first thing that I'm going to do when I stretch this dough, I'm going to take a dough box out. My dough balls for a 12-inch pizza are 300 grams, okay? A 300-gram dough ball is a pretty good sized dough ball, but it's not a very heavy dough ball. We range our weights of dough balls anywhere from maybe 180 grams up to even about 310. I've seen guys go 310 even, all right? For a 12-inch pizza, you're gonna have a very different look. The guy that's making that dough that pizza with a dough, let's say that's 180, 200 grams, even 220 grams, is going to have a very thin pizza, okay? The cornicione, that raised edge that we love, okay? It's going to be a little shorter. As you travel north in Italy, let's say you get into Veneto, where Venice is, right? In Veneto, they make a very similar style pizza where they use a smaller dough ball to make a larger pizza. Again, what we're trying to do is give more surface area, not to have a very thin middle and a very high raised edge. We're trying to make a very uniform crust from edge to edge, all right? It's a nice platform. Typically, if you go north, a pizza out there would be somewhere about 14 inches that they would serve personally, okay? You might share that pizza with somebody, but traditionally you get about a 14-inch pizza in the north. It's a very thin pizza. You don't have all that extra dough that you're eating, all right? So it's really a very balanced pizza. It's a lot different than when that pizza evolved and let's say it got imported to the United States and that Neapolitan pizza for the first time hit New York. And all of a sudden in New York, there wasn't the same flour, there wasn't the same cheese, there wasn't the same tomatoes, there wasn't even the same equipment. This is how we ended up using that big planetary mixer with the hook, right? With the bowl that was fixed. That gave a very traditional look to what we know as the New York style pizza today. But the dough formulas, when you look at them side by side, have a lot of similarities. The oldest pizzeria in America documented right now is in New York, a place called Lombardi's. And if you go there, they're using a lot of these traditional Neapolitan techniques to make a coal-fired pizza. They didn't have that Neapolitan oven that we have today. They had a chamber that had a box where they were shoveling coal into the side. That chamber would get heated from the side into the middle. It was really an old bread oven that they were using, all right? Now, what did they do? They were using the same kind of dough boxes. Back in the day, the dough boxes would be made of wood. That wood would absorb a little bit of the moisture from the exterior of that dough ball. All of a sudden, we stretched this dough very thin in the middle, very similar to what we would see, let's say maybe on that Neapolitan pizza. But what was the key? We were able to bake at 900 degrees again. The evolution from that was the first gas ovens. And we started all of a sudden using these deck ovens, right, to do that same job. Forno Bravo ovens over here are based off of that Italian oven. It's got the Napoli name on this oven for a reason. The mouth of this oven is a little smaller. The dome isn't quite as low though as the Italian ovens. So this has more capabilities as far as what you're going to cook inside of it. Because the mouth is just a hair bigger and the dome is a little bit higher, if you follow any of my social media feeds or YouTube or any of that, at Thanksgiving time we did a 32-pound turkey inside of my Napoli 140. That's something you're not going to do with your 900-degree Italian sports car oven, right? So what did we do? We figured out what was great about the pizza and then applied this to wood-fired cooking. We're in a show floor over here. You can see that in the back I've got a burner, right? We're not cooking with wood because in here I wouldn't be able to smoke this place out. So what are we doing? We've got a brand new control system running on gas. We just unveiled this system in Vegas this year, a couple months ago at the International Pizza Expo. And for the first time, we showed this brand new burner. The great thing about this new burner that we're using is it's got a 5-stage controller, all right? So as this controller is heating up the chamber inside of this oven, we have a set point, okay? And as the temperature, kind of like your thermostat at your house, as that temperature gets closer to the set point, it reduces the amount of gas to the burner, trimming the flame down. When it needs more heat, it pushes more gas to the burner and you get a higher flame. So all of a sudden, even running 100% straight gas like we're doing right now, we have a very controlled bake based on the type of pizza that we're trying to make. Now, I'm going to stretch this dough real fast. You'll see that there's a technique that I'm using where I'm not allowing this pizza to get a lot of flour on it, all right? If I was back at my school here in Chicago, I own the North American Pizza and Culinary Academy, all right? If we were back at the school our prep table has a beautiful piece of granite. A lot of pizzerias will have a beautiful piece of Carrara marble. But because our prep table here has got this abrasive plastic, if I was trying to stretch the dough by hand like we typically would do it, I'd end up snagging on the table and it would create this little rough edge. I would disturb the gluten in here. But the most important thing to me though is once I stretch this dough, if you look at this dough really carefully, you can see all of those air bubbles that are still locked inside the crust. I didn't push all the air out. I did it very uniform. Looks like I'm playing the piano when I'm stretching that dough ball, right? Every pizzaiolo has a little bit different method of how they do this job. So things that are simple that we say, it's just stretching a dough ball, the way you stretch the dough ball will definitely affect the texture of your pizza. Let's make a pizza. So I got a spoon over here. I'm going to take some of this beautiful sauce that we just made. The sauce has been sitting for more than 10 seconds, so I'm going to give this a stir. You can see that beautiful pulp that's on here. And again, I don't care if there's a little bit bigger piece of tomato or whatever. This is something that was made by hand. Okay, we got this sauce. I'm gonna put just a little touch more, just in the middle. I wanna make sure that I got enough sauce on this because you can see that I've made a pizza that's not quite 12 inches. It's a little bit smaller, right? Because of the technique that I'm gonna use to bake this pizza. I'm gonna take just a little bit of basil. We're not building an art project. We're not building an ark. Just put the basil on there. Wherever it falls, all right? Let's take some of this fresh mozzarella that I just made, this julienne cut. We're gonna put some of this on top of the pizza, just like this, all right? This mozzarella was made with curd that was stretched by hand probably about an hour ago. Now, I'm gonna take some beautiful Parmigiano Reggiano, put that in the middle. Let me take some of this really good olive oil. This is a company called Redoro out of Veneto. Just happens to be where the oldest pizza school in Italy is. Scuola Italiana Pizzaioli is out of Veneto. They're out of Venice, right? Just happens to be where my school is part of here in Chicago. We're part of the oldest pizza school in Italy. I just happen to be one of less than 100 master instructors in the world from the Scuola Italiana Pizzaioli. So all of a sudden, all you guys out there saying, where can I learn these amazing techniques? www.pizzaculinaryacademy.com. I'm kidding, guys. All right, so here we go. Not really. The next thing we got is this peel, right? We did all this work to make sure that I didn't have all this extra flour underneath the pizza. We have a peel that's got all these holes, right? And the idea with the holes is that as soon as I go underneath this pizza, any excess flour that's underneath the base will fall through. It doesn't end up in the oven. This is going to give us a better bake because inside an oven that's got a temperature like this, flour is combustible. The more flour that we have underneath the base of our pizza, the more black it's going to be. A lot of times people say, I got a pizza, it was burnt. That pizza didn't have a chance to even bake before it was burnt because there was so much flour underneath. That's why the tools are just as important. This company literally makes the Ferrari of pizza tools. A company called GI Metal. We love this. Very light. I've been making pizzas all my life with a wood board. I feel it in my shoulder now, man. I'm not young anymore, right? This is Mason, my assistant, my apprentice actually. He just became a certified pizzaiolo on Friday. There you go. Now, this is the part I love. Everybody freaks out. What do you mean you're going to put this pizza from here to here? Watch. We grab this underneath the cornicione, and then I'm going to give this a beautiful slide, right? As I slide like this, now I'm going to finish that stretch to that beautiful 12-inch pizza, right? All of a sudden, this pizza looks just like all of those Instagram pictures you guys see from everybody who makes pizzas in the world. From here, this, I like to say, is kind of like the magician that pulls the tablecloth with all the glasses. We're going to go very quick. You got to be confident. I'm going to go into the oven and straight back, and it's off. Now, this is the last time that that pizza is going to see this peel. This peel is only used to put the pizza in the oven. Then we have this one. This is called the palettino. This one is used to turn our pizza. There's a theme here. This one's got those lines too. As this turns underneath the pizza, any excess flour, we're pulling it out, okay? I'm not gonna disturb this pizza. It's in the oven, it needs to bake, okay? Every time we go and we touch this pizza, we have an opportunity to disturb it. So what do we wanna do? We wanna make sure that that crust is set. I'm not baking at 900 degrees because in my opinion, my idea of the perfect pizza is a pizza that's uniform brown all the way around. It's crispy on the bottom, right? It's not humid inside, but it's still chewy, okay? So I'm gonna leave this bake. My pizza, instead of 90 seconds, will cook in about 2.5 to 3 minutes. My floor temperature is somewhere between 650, 700 degrees. It's a lot of variation, I know, but this really depends on the pizzaiolo or the owner of the pizzeria itself. Forno Bravo is going to give you a tool that will be able to do all of those different bakes. And because this oven physically doesn't have a knob that we can control to the temperature when the pizza's in there baking, it's important to understand how to regulate and cook the pizza in the proper position, okay? Now, this pizza's only been in here for a second, all right? I'm gonna go underneath. This peel has a point. It's got that little arrow. The arrow's there for a reason, because if we take that arrow and we shoot for the edge of the pizza, the edge of the cornicione, when we line it up this way, all of a sudden, the peel is directly in the middle of the pizza. Very important, because if you're gonna break a pizza, I'll come like this so you can see this. I don't know about you, but this is already looking like we got a winner, folks. I'm gonna put this back directly on the spot that we started with, okay? When we turn the pizza in the oven, I came out of the oven to the mouth. The reason I came out to the mouth is because by bringing the pizza out here, we stopped the cooking for a second. It gave us some time. Not everybody has the competency to be able to turn that pizza fast inside of the oven, all right? I can do it, but I wanted to show you guys the technique. As we go into the oven now, okay, again, I'm gonna turn this and I'm looking now to see if there's any other spots that are white. I got a white spot right here, okay? I'm gonna take that white spot and I'm physically gonna bring it to the dome for 3 seconds. If I wanted to turn the pizza, I would continue to turn the pizza on its spot. I could sit here all day and turn this thing. But if you guys, I know right now we're at a loss. It's a hard time to find good, skilled labor. But if you have somebody that you're training and they can't turn that pizza in that manner, make sure that these guys come out of the oven into the mouth of the oven to make that turn. My teacher is a guy named Graziano Bertuzzo, who's considered one of the greatest pizza makers in the world. Graziano is the head master of all the masters of Scuola Italiana Pizzaioli. Graziano has this saying: when you cut the pizza and it sings, it's a good pizza. If the pizza crackles, it's good. On the next one, I did a little too quick. I've been balancing my pizzas on top of a bottle for 2 days. They're pretty good. I think you guys will be happy. I'm gonna cut this into a few smaller pizzas, and I'm gonna make a couple other pizzas here real fast, all right? You guys are a big crowd. I wanna make sure everybody has a little taste over here. But stick around after this one. I got some really cool ones I'm gonna make as well. Go ahead and make some friends. This is not a German pizza, it's Italian pizza. Oh, I know why you're asking me.
Let me know when you do that.
I got you. I'm gonna do it right now.
All right, thank you.
Let's do it right now. What are we talking about? German pizzas. I actually have somebody here on the show floor that is making an investment, and he's opening a pizzeria. And the style of pizza he's going to make is a German style pizza. It's very thin, okay? Very crispy on the outside, but it's chewy in the middle. So it's a different stretch when we make that pizza, okay? Let's do this. I'm going to use a little bit smaller dough ball. These dough balls have actually been out for an hour. We put them back in there to keep them a little cool now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this dough ball and I'm going to do the same thing. Why am I using a smaller dough ball? Because I'm going to make the same size pizza with less dough. It's gonna be a thinner pizza. I'm not changing oven settings, I'm not changing anything. I'm just changing the technique of stretching my dough, and I'm gonna change the way and the position in the oven that I bake this pizza. You'll see that there was a lot of flour that came out. It's not a big deal because what I did was I turned this, I knocked most of the flour off, and I'm gonna put this back on the table. At this point, I'm not gonna be worried about making that nice ring, that cornicione. I'm gonna start at the edge, and again, like I'm playing the piano, I'm gonna go straight back. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna flip this over, and I'm gonna go straight this way. So now on both sides, my fingers went all in one direction, right? Vertically. I'm gonna take the dough ball, I'm gonna turn it 90 degrees. So my fingers now are turned, and they just went